We have an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to get ahead of that investigation. We have seen no evidence so far based upon the investigations that have already been conducted. Remember, there was an intelligence community investigation last year. This has been investigated. We've been investigating it, and we're going to continue to investigate just to make sure no stone is unturned.
I don't think that any of us on the Intelligence Committee should reach any conclusions about the evidence yet because, frankly, we have heard from no witnesses. We have only started reviewing documents.
Well, the Russia investigation and the alleged ties to the administration, where is that? Is there any there? We're back with the panel. Steve, I had a busy day. I had breakfast with the Speaker of the House, and he said that that investigation he was referencing was DNI, former Director of National Intelligence Clapper, and CIA Director Brennan did a full scrub, according to the Speaker of the House, from November to December. They turned it over and briefed lawmakers and found no collusion, no cooperation, no communication outside of Michael Flynn with the Russian ambassador. He was kind of definitive about it.
Right. Now, I've talked to FBI officials over the past several days who have said that this is one of the reasons that the administration has been so frustrated, is that they have had these investigations. According to these FBI officials, current and former, they haven't turned up anything definitive. They haven't pointed at any leads. And that's why the White House is eager to have some people out there making that argument. Now, I think we can look back on what Mike Flynn did and say that he used poor judgment, certainly with respect to the Russia Today event, the speeches. But for Democrats to continue to capitalize on this, at some point they're going to have to come up with something harder than the circumstantial evidence that does exist. I mean, there are real questions about why Donald Trump had the position he had with respect to Vladimir Putin throughout the campaign. That is far different than saying that he was in collusion with the Russians to defeat Hillary Clinton, which is the allegation that Democrats are making.
Let's not forget, Brett, that we've had a very prominent journalist, Tom Friedman of the New York Times, say that we were attacked on 9/11 and at Pearl Harbor and on Election Day, meaning I can't imagine what else he meant if he wasn't talking about by the Russians' interference in our election. It should be said, by the way, that there was interference perhaps in the campaign, no evidence of interference in the election. And as Stephen, you have just pointed out, there's really been no evidence that there's any improper communication between the Trump people and Russia during or before the election. And I have a feeling that when we get down to the bottom of this rabbit hole, they're not going to find anything.
So I guess, AB, the question is, I mean, there have been ominous headlines. There have been ominous stories out there about this alleged tie. But then if there is nothing there, why does the investigation and the push for the investigation continue in such earnest way by senior Democrats?
Well, first of all, there are Republicans who want to investigate the interference in the campaign, as Britt said, but not on Election Day, not with the balloting, but with the campaign. As long as you have Republicans like Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri saying, you know, we're going to
get to the bottom of it,
get to the end. As long as you have people like Congressman Darrell Issa of California saying this really should be, you know, taken over by a special prosecutor.
He did walk that back a little bit.
But then he doubled down again, actually, after the walk back. So it gives Democrats fuel. And as long as they have Republicans in cahoots with them saying it needs attention, it will get attention from the Democrats, like Congressman Schiff saying, we haven't begun to talk to witnesses or get any testimony.
ICE's statement was that he wanted it done so that it could be completely taken off the table and cleared.
Right,
a special investigator.
But the idea that it needs to be done independently so that all Americans can trust the process infers that it's not undergoing a trustworthy process.
This is kind of all the Democrats have right now. I mean, if it's not Russia that delivered the election to Donald Trump, what was it? Was it the fact that they've missed the angst and the anxiety of middle America on key issues in key ways for the last several years? Was it they had a candidate who really didn't connect with the electorate? Was it their own turnout machine? What was it? I mean, anything except reflect on their own, in my view, failures in seeing what was happening among the electorate. Russia makes it a lot easier for the Democrats not to do their own autopsy on what went wrong. And I understand everybody, you know, doesn't like how Trump addressed Putin, and I would have rather him said something else as well. But the idea that that's what gave this election to Donald Trump, which they're still beating on every liberal website, on every left-wing blog, and at the other cable network we just ran the clip from, That is what they're talking about almost 24/7.
I will say on national security issues, and we will hear a section of this speech that deals with a lot of those, but senior administration officials at the White House identified North Korea as by far the most dangerous situation that the U.S. faces right now, Steve.
Yeah, I think there have been some briefings both on Capitol Hill and at the White House over the past couple of weeks that have raised the alarms on North Korea, in addition to the behavior that we've seen, the increasingly risky behavior or troubling behavior that we've seen from North Korea. I think it's a reasonable case to think that that's a key threat, but you can't, I mean, how many are there? ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Iran. I mean, there are so many threats. It's one of the reasons I think that you have intelligence officials on edge the way that they are.
President Trump talked yesterday, Britt, to the Chinese, and obviously sees China as a linchpin to solving or at least helping solve the North Korean situation.
Yeah, and there's a sequence of events here. You remember he raised the question of whether he would go along with the familiar one China policy. He eventually took that off the table. In the meantime, China, for the first time in a long time, slapped some very serious sanction on North Korea in reaction to what it's been doing lately by saying it was no longer going to buy coal from North Korea. That is huge for the North Korean economy and represents a major step. So, you know, he may be getting somewhere in dealing with the Chinese. Something to hope for, I guess.